got it.
Take it over there, Kevin, but
Excuse me, everyone. The time is now 7:04 p.m. I will now call this meeting of the Bridgewater Town Council to order. Please rise and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Tonight's Town Council meeting is being streamed live via YouTube. Please go to the Town of Bridgewater Facebook page for the link. Tonight I do have some condolences from our veterans agent. Please join me in recognizing the passing of Timothy Roy, U.S. Air Force, served in Vietnam, passed away on March 6th. Walter Webster Jr., U.S. Army, served in Korea, passed away on March 17th. William Davies, U.S. Navy, served in Vietnam, passed away on April 8th. Please join me in a moment of silence for these veterans and all of Bridgewater's veterans and their families. Thank you. We do not have any meeting minutes for approval. Our town council clerk was on vacation. We'll have some more approvals for minutes soon. Announcements from the president. I do have a few. Of course, the election is this Saturday at the Edward O'Donoghue Middle School from 7 a.m. until 8 p.m. In-person absentee voting is currently available now through, I believe it is noon on Friday, April 24th. So you could do that here in Town Hall with our town clerk's office. Mail-in ballots must be submitted by Friday at 8 p.m. at the drop-off box. It's recommended that you just drop them off in the ballot box as opposed to just mailing them if at all possible. Saturday is also First Responder Day. I believe that's the 4th annual First Responder Day. That is between 2 p.m. and 5 p.m. It's a incredible event. I've gone before. It's a great thing that we do over at Town River Landing. Fire for Effect Foundation in Alacerta, they do a really, really great job. I encourage everybody to go out there and support our first responders. I believe that we're the first town to have recognized such a day, so please go out there and support our community and some neighboring communities as well. I think there's also going to be a blood drive, so if you'd like to donate blood, we would love for you all to show up. I'll personally be at the polls. If I could escape, I may hop over there. There's also a number of farmers markets this season over at Town River Landing, again, headed by Al and Fire for Effect. I forget the exact numbers, but he has more folks committed to being vendors this year than in years past. It just continues to grow. It's a really bright spot in our community. So those guys are doing a great job. Be on the lookout for those announcements and go ahead and attend there. I also want to recognize that a number of residents, a bunch of residents came out this past weekend for an annual town cleanup. We officially had three locations in Carver's Pond and the NIP, as well as the downtown area. There was a number of counselors that were out there, and obviously residents and volunteers from I think our fire department had a group out there as well. So thank you to everybody who participated. I saw a lot of candidates that are running for election out there as well. So it was a great community effort. Thank you to the Marchand Environmental Company for donating a dumpster. Apparently this was one of the best efforts that we've had recently, so thank you. And then the Claremont Company did also donate some drinks and snacks as well. I'm sure I'm forgetting some folks, but thank you to all who participated. And finally, Sophia Vitaroni, she was my kind of BSU ambassador, and she got a lot of people mobilized. So thank you to everybody who came out and supported. Last thing that I want to mention is that we're now kind of at the end of our council organization cycle, and I wanted to say that it's been a pleasure serving as president. I really am an honor to have served in this position and have had the faith of my fellow councilors. Thank you for trusting me, and it's been a pleasure to serve alongside Vice President McGrath. Thank you very much. We've done a lot over the last year. Obviously, our water infrastructure was up front and center of a lot of our issues, but we did welcome our new town manager, Justin Casanova Davis, who unfortunately is with family today. But I think that he's been a great addition, and we look forward to sustained leadership and consistent leadership over the next number of years. We've worked hard at downtown revitalization, again, and nod to Ms. McGrath, who's done a lot there, and to all of our other committees who've done a great job. So thank you all for all of your efforts, and it's been a pleasure to serve alongside you. So that's all that I have for announcements. We'll now go on to proclamations. We do have one tonight. We have an Arbor Day proclamation, which was going around, I believe we all just signed. So I'll just read that into the record. Whereas in 1872, the Nebraska Board of Agriculture established a special day to be set aside for the planting of trees, and whereas this holiday called Arbor Day was first observed with the planting of more than 1 million trees in Nebraska, and whereas Arbor Day is now observed throughout the nation and the world, and whereas trees can be a solution to combating climate change by reducing the erosion of our precious topsoil by wind and water, cutting heating and cooling costs, moderating the temperature, cleaning the air, producing life-giving oxygen, and providing habitat for wildlife. And whereas trees are a renewable source, giving us paper, wood for our homes, fuel for our fires, and countless other wood products. And whereas trees in our town increase property values, enhance the economic vitality of business areas, and beautify our community. And whereas trees, wherever they are planted, are a source of joy and spiritual renewal. Now, therefore, the Town Council and the Town of Bridgewater, Massachusetts does hereby proclaim April 24th, 2026 as Arbor Day in the Town of Bridgewater, and urge all citizens to celebrate Arbor Day and to support efforts to protect our trees and woodlands. And further, we all urge all citizens to plant trees to gladden the heart and promote the well-being of this and future generations. Okay, next we do have Citizen Open Forum. Due to Massachusetts open meeting law requirements, discussions will not take place during public comment periods. If appropriate, responses to questions and concerns will be given by the town manager at a future town council meeting. Anyone may come up at this time and speak for up to 3 minutes. Please state your name and address for the record.
Good evening, councilors. Sam Baumgarten, 60 Short Street. First, I want to thank all the councilors for your time and effort, especially in dealing with the difficult issues of water management and the upcoming FY 2027 budget. Also, thanks to Councilors Loretti and Murphy for jumping into the fray again and running for office, and also a thanks to MJ for adding to the fund, so I wish you all the best. Each town council meeting begins with the Pledge of Allegiance, whose final words are, "with liberty and justice for all." We, meaning all of us in the USA, have never quite brought that pledge to fruition, as there are still many among us who do not feel fully free or treated in just ways. Yet we continue to recite the pledge as an aspiration or target of what America is supposed to be, and to remind us to keep working towards that goal. Tonight you will be voting on 2 resolutions, one to support Pride Month and one to support the Juneteenth holiday, with their respective flags to fly in June for 2 weeks each at the Bridgewater Public Library. Specifically, these resolutions support members of the LGBTQ+ community and members of the Black and Brown community, many of whom continue to live daily with hate, harassment, and discrimination, forever struggling to achieve equal rights and to feel respected and included. I urge a unanimous vote on these resolutions to demonstrate Bridgewater's commitment to be a welcoming town, to step above the vitriol that seems all too common these days, and to show our determination to achieve the elusive liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. Christina Ajemian, 221 Aldrich Road. In the month of April, spring finally seems to have arrived with more daylight, some sunshine, and spring allergies. We celebrate a marathon that draws participants from all corners of the globe on Patriots' Day, a day that marks the beginning of America's struggle for self-determination and democracy. This year and every year, it's important to remember that democracy once achieved is not the same as democracy guaranteed. Constant reflection and vigilance are required. That is our duty. Following up on Sam's words about liberty and justice for all, I believe that we ought to reflect on the American history that has brought us to this moment in time and be vigilant about upholding everyone's right to the pursuit of happiness with dignity and respect. With this in mind, I urge the Council to support these resolutions to commemorate Pride Month and Juneteenth. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ray Ajemian, 221 Aldridge Road. I'm going to speak in two different issues, so I'm going to jump from one to the other. First, I want to tell you that we were happy that, as chairman of the tree committee, that you read the Arbor Day statement. It's important that trees be taken care of, that we plant more trees. It's good for the environment, as you all know, and we appreciate that. On that note, Bill Malpe, who was the tree warden for the town of Bridgewater for 20 years, unpaid, the tree committee has decided to honor him next week, either Tuesday or Wednesday, we'll let you know, by planting a tree on the common with a plaque honoring him for his service to the town. So I just want to make you aware of that and hope you can attend when we notify you. The other thing, I'm going to switch in terms of what Sam and Chris said. I concur with their statements. And I just want to make one point as a student of history, that history is important and that the United States look at our past, both in the positives and the negatives. And in my opinion, the issue of slavery is probably one of the worst things, if not the worst, issue in this country's history. Let me just read you quickly couple short paragraphs. The slaves lived in small cabins, usually located at some distance from the plantation house. They had few opportunities, for they were educated only for the work they had to do and were seldom given the chance to travel far from the home plantation. Their life, however, was not entirely bad. Most of the slaveholders treated their slaves well, and many of the slaves were deeply attached to the masters and were happy to serve them. Negroes are by nature cheerful people, and the slaves did much to make their own life enjoyable. The evening hours were often enlightened by dancing and by singing of the religious chants, the famous Negro spirituals. Of course, there were exceptions. There were some, though, very harsh slave drivers and overseers who made the lives of Negroes miserable. There were cases where heartless masters divided households by selling the husband, the wife, or children to a slave owner who lived far away. This meant being separated from their loved ones forever. Such occurrences, however, were rare and cannot be regarded as typical of slavery in the South. This passage is, I hope you realize, is a bunch of baloney. It's false. I've taken this from a 1950s textbook that was used in the Brockton public school system. My only point in saying this is that history does matter, and correct history matters. And history should be written by historians, not by governments. You don't want a conservative or liberal or any type of government writing history, because they will write it in what they see is right. And my only point is, what is going on right now is wrong. History should be left to the historians. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. Good evening, Janet Hanson, Pleasant Street. I have a couple of things I want to speak about, one very short. First, I just have one comment about the school budget. I do feel it's too high and feel that it appears to be top-heavy of the administration costs. That's all I'm going to say about that tonight. The second is I wanted to express my support to having the town hire a grant writer whose only job is to research, seek out, and apply for grants for our town. The advantage to this is that person has no other responsibilities, thus can concentrate solely on grants, unlike other departments and committees. I worked in busy medical offices and had many duties over the past 40 years of administrative assistant, of checking in patients and out, scheduling appointments, scheduling tests, making outside appointments, verifying insurances, scheduling outside appointments, answering phones, handling co-pays, you name it, I did it. I also was responsible for obtaining prior authorizations for testings. It was difficult to do while doing all those other duties. I had to sometimes be on hold for over 2 hours for an insurance company and also working with patients. So it was very difficult, and also online. So it took time, and while trying to cover, take care of patients and answering phones, it was very difficult to do. Some offices were fortunate to have someone whose only job was dedicated for prior authorizations. They didn't have the other duties to distract them. That is the greatest advantage to a grant writer. No distraction, which gives them time to investigate and research grant opportunities. It's like researching scholarships for colleges. You investigate anything, no matter how small, and whether or not you think you can be applicable for it, qualified for it. There are many opportunities for scholarships that students just have to research. No scholarship is too small. No grant is too small. May or may not qualify, but you won't know until you try. Grant writer would do the same, look into anything and everything. Their job would be is to just seek out grants and apply and follow up on them. They wouldn't have anything else that they would need to do. I would like this person to be a resident too, as they would have a stake in success of grants. And it doesn't necessarily need to be a 40-hour position, as long as it's consistent hours to get the job done. I realize it would be an expense for the town, but we need it. Current system is just not working. And one last thing, two last things. I have a request by a resident that couldn't be here tonight. Do we have water commission applicants or members yet? Hopefully, if that can't be answered tonight, next meeting, if there could be an answer. And the only other thing, seems minor, but when you ask for everybody to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, could you please wait for us to stand? Because there's a lot of times you say, let's stand, and you're already saying it, and half the audience is still getting their butt off their seat. So just kind of give us a minute, okay? That's all I said. And thank you, everybody, for everything. I know it's election, and Mark Lindy's running too. He may be unopposed, but he's on the ballot. So I thank you, and hopefully we can get some of this addressed. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Council. John Donna, 261 South Street. While the election is still in front of us, I do want to speak in favor of the question on stipend for town council. I spoke to this last time, and it is on the, it is a ballot question, and we're going to vote for this in 5 days. And I think it's important to talk about this now while the election is still in front of us. I realize there's some seriously important budget issues going on in town right now that other people are very concerned about, and rightfully so. But I think it is important that we discuss this as well. The reason I favor this is for the past 3 years that I've been coming to meetings, I've been seeing how much time. I'm sorry, you were speaking? Sorry. I was speaking. Please continue. Could you please reset my time, Mr. President? Thank you. Just want to say for the past few years that I've been coming to town council meetings, I see how much work the town council puts in. And it's not just the meetings, it's also, you also serve on other committees as well. There's joint board meetings with the board, school committee board, and finance. And I realize there's a lot of other residents that just serve on boards and committees, and I don't want to discount their work. You know, they volunteer their time, and they do some really amazing work, and the town is better for it. But but the town council is the front line, and you hear, you go through all the concerns at the resident forums, and sometimes they're not even related to Bridgewater issues, but you still sit through it and hear it. And I can only imagine how many texts and emails you get in correspondence throughout the week outside of the meetings. And I know, and there's been some real issues in Bridgewater, and they are getting resolved. I've seen the work. I cited a few examples the last time I spoke, and I wouldn't be standing here if I didn't believe that. And lastly, you know, the turnout for the local elections has not been stellar, at least in the past few cycles anyway. And I think that having this in place might make the residents more invested, get more involved. And that would be a good thing if we get more residents involved on what's going on in town, what the issues are. And perhaps that might even help us tackle these issues as they come up rather than let them spiral out of control for years. And now look at what we're dealing with now that you're left to deal with. So for those reasons, I do want to speak in favor of the stipend for town council. Thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to come up and speak? Okay, thank you very much. We do not have any appointments, hearings, licensed transactions, or presentations, so we will move right along to our town manager's report. And Ms. Guarini is standing in for Justin this evening, and we have a water dashboard on there for this evening.
Good evening, Mr. President and fellow councilors. Thank you for having me here today. Justin is, as you know, he had to be out for a personal matter. So I just wanted to let you guys know, which I think you already know. There's been a new online water system improvement dashboard that went onto the website this morning. The IT department is still looking to improve the front page access. That should all be worked out by tomorrow. But this dashboard should have a digital tool with transparent and easy to navigate platform, we hope, to view essential information regarding the community's drinking water. Hopefully it will provide some common questions or answers to common questions and some transparency and some resources where the community can get some information. It's just a high-level overview of it, and it launched today, and we hope to have it connected to the front page by tomorrow. And yeah, that's my update.
Thank you. I see our DPW director is here. Are we able to ask any questions of the water dashboard?
Sure, I can ask Azu to come up and ask a few questions, or...
I have a couple of questions, and by the way, I think that this is a great start. When you go to the dashboard, there's a notion of what's been completed, what's in progress, and then if you click through it, there are some town quarterly well withdrawals, which is great, and system updates. So before I ask questions, do any councilors have any questions about the dashboard? If you guys have had a chance to look at it, any questions that you heard from residents yet?
I just want to make sure we promote it on the Town of Bridgewater Facebook page and any place else we can, and share it to let residents know that it's out there.
Thank you.
I didn't have a chance to look at it, but I had a chance to hear about it from my husband, who said he was really happy to see it and thought it was a great thing. So want to repeat that.
Great. Questions from councilors? Just a couple. Oh, yeah.
I just have a few. Azu, I don't know if you could help answer some of these questions, but can you ask or explain to me why we're doing quarterly well withdrawals? Or how do we settle on only sharing quarterly numbers for this?
Can you repeat that, Dr. Murphy?
Yeah, on the dashboard, it says we could visit the website to look at town quarterly well withdrawal. So every quarter, it looks like the town's going to update each individual well withdrawal number. I was just curious on how we determined that quarterly numbers would be sufficient enough for this.
I think there was a question that was, I believe the town manager had addressed that issue. And I think that is because there was some safety concerns in terms of providing daily operational report that can indeed endanger our safety operations with providing daily. You can have an untoward characters abuse that information. But I will leave that up to the town manager because he did say that he will address that further if the council has more questions. So that would be a town manager response action, if you will.
I have a feeling a lot of the questions are going to come back to Justin, but I'll ask again. It does a great job talking about the water system improvements and highlighting what we've done with each individual well on the dashboard. It doesn't do a good job explaining why or how beneficial these well redevelopments or rehabilitations have been. I don't know if that's been in consideration, but I think that's something that we should be advertising or showing folks that, you know, we took well 3 offline, we re-drilled it, whatever the legal term, I mean, the terms are, but we went from this to this, and this is how it kind of worked out. So I think having a little bit more information on there would be really helpful for folks to kind of read along and just educate themselves on what our improvements are doing for the system.
That is a very good point, Dr. Murphy, and I believe, as you know, when you launch a project, you're going to work out the kinks and provide more details. So this is more of a responsive course of action to be proactive. But I think as we work through the nuance and the details, that will be forthcoming in the next week.
And then the last comment for you, again, maybe for the town manager to consider, on the water frequently asked questions, there are only 4 of them, seem pretty high-level questions. I wonder if folks or citizens can have the opportunity to submit questions that maybe they have, and if it's a frequent question or something they see often, could it be reflected on here with an answer?
Yes, that will be the direction that we go. That is correct.
Maybe we could add a line underneath that section that just says, for additional questions, please submit to whatever that email address is or something.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's a valid point.
Just on those questions, my suggestion would be that those get addressed next time with the town manager specifically, because he's going to be the one that makes the determination kind of what goes in there. I think they're good suggestions, but I think I would hold those and make sure you address them with Justin directly too.
Yeah.
And I will obviously send this to Justin, but I wanted to concur with Dr. Murphy's first thing. I understand that daily may be an issue, but I think monthly might be something we could look forward to.
Yeah, and just a question and somewhat of a comment as well. I think that monthly would be great. I can understand quarterly because it kind of smooths out averages, right? When you have wells that go down, and I'm putting you on the spot here, but I believe 3, 8, and 6 were all rehabilitated. Is that right? I'm just looking at the dashboard right now.
Yeah, redeveloped.
Redeveloped.
Yeah.
So they were. It was safe to say that those 3 wells were down for what, days or weeks? How long are they typically down for?
Well, it depends on the availability because there are not too many people that service wells these days. So you have the mercy of the vendors, if you will. But Mara has been pretty responsive to us. Usually, if it's not a bad, let me back up here. The reason you have to redevelop those wells is because we didn't have the redundancy or the ability for the wells. They were all pumping steadily. And when they do that, this what we call safe yield, which means the ability for the well to recover after it's been pumping, takes longer. So the redevelopment allows them to regain the ability to pump at their previous levels. So what the Middleborough, for example, has provided us is the ability now to rest some of those wells so they can go back and refresh. Just like you and I, when we get tired, we rest, and then when we get back up, take a shower, bada bang, you're more productive. And that's what that redevelopment does. So at the easiest point, you can get a well redeveloped in a week, but sometimes it can take 2 or 3 weeks, depending on the availability of the contractor to come and do that work.
Okay. Yeah, the reason why I ask is because I know that myself, I like to dig into numbers. I know that we have a lot of residents that are very, very interested in this, and they're going to dig into these numbers. and the dashboard doesn't account for the fact that some of these wells may not have been online for weeks, right? So if you do a simple calculation as to total number of gallons that came out of the ground for a particular well, and then you divide by 90 days and a quarter, that's not necessarily going to give you an indication of what the capacity of that well is if it was redeveloped. Does that make sense?
Yeah, well, that's that. So without getting too technical here, it's one of those things when, and not to cast aspersions on anybody, right? But if you don't know what the numbers you're looking at, what that means, you can misinterpret it, right? I'll give you an example. The difference between a daily average rate versus a daily maximum demand. It's the only analogy I can give you is, for example, you can have a highway, say Bedford Street, can carry 20,000 vehicles a day, right? But about 30% of that occurs within a 2-hour period. But you can't take that 2-hour period and then turn around and multiply it by 24 hours and say that is, or 12 hours, and say this is what happens during the day, because most of that occurs within a very short period of time. So that is why you have to be very careful in how do you use and interpret those numbers.
Yeah, thank you. It's very helpful. I just want to caution the public who's going to look into this that some of these wells were redeveloped and the actual gallons that we got out of the ground isn't reflective of their ability to pump 24/7, like you're making the analogy with the with the highway. So, yeah, again, I don't want to dig into the weeds too much here, but I am comparing some of these to what's in the water master plan, and I think that what the council would appreciate, speaking at least for myself, is the condition of some of these wells, because if you look at how they're performing, like Carver's Pond on the total is performing less than half of what is projected. I know that some of them are being rested now and they're being redeveloped, but I think that for the council to understand the health of each of these wells is very important, so that we could all continue to collaborate on supply. So that's just a little bit more of a comment, and we could add it kind of everybody here.
Mm-hmm.
Any further questions or comments, councilors? All right. Well, thank you very much. Thanks for coming up and answering some questions.
Sure, thank you.
I think that's all that you have for this evening, unless you have anything else.
No, that's it. Thank you.
All right, great. Speaking to, actually, I don't want to violate open meeting law, I'll ask later, but any questions that we have of our town manager who's not here, we would just send those via email, and we'll address them at our next meeting, but I know that we usually follow up with that. Next up, we do have for discussions water supply. We did make a commitment to discuss this every meeting, and I wanted to fulfill that commitment. So I wanted to just give an update to the public as to a couple of things which are going on. Obviously, where looking at every avenue, we have the water dashboard, which is up, and it looks great, and we'll continue to improve upon that. I want to just mention that obviously the council is looking into this, and I think that we're all taking a much finer comb to everything here, because if you do look at our water master plan, we are underproducing, and I think that we all need to understand and be very involved with exactly where our situation is. And I know that Councilor McGrath brought up the potential of having an ad hoc committee. I don't know if that is one that would be necessary, but if we wanted to assign a certain number of councilors to overseeing with a little bit more of a specificity on the water situation moving forward, because we're going to be involved in this for a number of years, it's something I'd be open to. I don't mean to put you on the spot, but I don't know if you had anything that you wanted to share as to what your thoughts were with that committee, or any other ideas that you had recently.
Well, I think it was because of what you and Sean wrote up, the order. And it was a good outline, but it didn't have any accountability. So I kind of would like to have, if we didn't do the ad hoc, I would like not only that the water, gets sent to the town manager, but to the town councils. And that we keep, I think, a little bit more communication with the planning. Because it does put the planning in a tough spot. But otherwise, I think we're doing well.
Yeah, I do want to remind everybody that, absent of an actual water commission, the town council per Mass General law, does act and behave as the water commissioners. I'm not sure if everybody is aware of that. That allows us to set rates and allows us to have direct purview over our supply. So I want to just continue to encourage us all to be engaged in that. We're going to talk a little bit more about that here soon, about some ideas that we have for increased capacity, some ideas that we have there. But I want to just remind us that that is a role that we do have. Our town manager does administrate those actions, but we as water commissioners do have that role. So I'd encourage us all to continue to take an enhanced role, in that. So I don't know if anybody has any comments about what Councilor McGrath talked about in an ad hoc committee. I don't know if we think that that's necessary. What do you guys think?
I agree with Councilor McGrath. During Rules and Procedure, there was a discussion on an amendment that would essentially place more, not oversight from the council, because the council doesn't have that control, but just notification and awareness for the council as to where things are, so we are regularly updated. There's been some discussion about that ordinance online as well. And I think, and this may or may not be your opinion, Mr. President, but when we looked at that, we wanted to get something off the ground into committees for discussion. I know that from speaking with the town manager, with the water discussions, that ordinance was supposed to be sent to multiple departments for review as well, to ensure that the town has the ability to have a process that complies with the ordinance and that the manager is able to oversee. So the efforts with the ordinance, again, are supposed to be in line with the charter, so we don't violate anything. The town manager, as the executive branch, oversees that function. So there are requirements that things go through him, but as far as our understanding, and this may be a question further down the line for our attorney, but as far as oversight and notification to the council itself, so we're not caught off guard by a water emergency situation. We're not supposed to be involved in the approval process. We have zoning, we have planning, we have our own on the town side that approve or deny things as well. So it's really just trying to make sure that that's a solid ordinance all the way through that allows us to have, notification and not be caught flat-footed like I feel like the councils have been leading up to this issue. So I will say that I'm very pleased that we're going to make progress over the next few months. And I know we have a discussion later this evening within the council, so I'm looking forward to that. But, I am happy to see that things are moving along, and the council is doing work to resolve this as fast as we can in a way that sets us up for to be on a better spot in the future. I think that's a real positive thing. So hopefully we can work through this with the town.
Yeah, I think the one thing that we did miss is, a reporting feature back to the town council. And I listened to your meeting and your comments, and I think that that's something that the town council would appreciate and residents would appreciate, that if there was a project that did trigger a water impact study or water impact report, that report would, be sent to the council for us to review. If there was ever a zoning ordinance or there was an appeal, right, and water was granted to a project when we may not have had the capacity, we certainly need to be, that needs to be reported back to us. So I think that, including some of those changes would be great. And I'm glad that it's moving forward, and, we've got something that we're working on, and I'm glad that that's moving forward. We can improve upon it. Councilor Lindy.
I'm glad that this is on the agenda. It should stay on every agenda, and we should get as much information as we need as counselors and distribute that information to the public.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I think that we, like as Councilor Kennedy said, the council's been caught flat-footed with some of these, with some of the issues regarding capacity, and there's been some conflicting information. I think that there's a lot of information out in the public now. We're all very keenly aware and educated of what's going on, and we're all taking an active role to continue to improve our capacity. I know that just something to kind of reiterate to the public and for us to talk about amongst ourselves. We do have the Vernon Street wells, which in my opinion, I do think that we should be moving on. I do think that we should explore the Dighton connection. I think that we should make sure that we are independent first and foremost, but I don't see a reason why we shouldn't approach a parallel strategy where we're looking at multiple sources. And then, we did have Mr. Andrews from Stiles and Hart, who has approached the town, who's interested in selling a portion of his property, a parcel that we are looking at, and we're going to discuss later on in executive session, amongst a couple other things that we're going to be looking at. So that's something that is within the purview of the council to manage, which is our water capacity, and then through the town manager to potentially appraise and procure, and then have a budget order, go through the council. That's kind of our process and how that goes. So I wanted to just educate the public and inform them as to where we are there, and then open it up to councilors if they have any thoughts about where that's going, and just kind of open up the floor before we move on.
I have one more thing. I want to bring it up just in case I'm on the committee to bring this up. I don't know, maybe the attorney, when he looks at it. I watch, like it was on Curve Street, a waiver came up for the planning board on the rest of the 6 or 10 houses to increase the bedrooms, to have a waiver. So I'd like to see how we can, kind of control that, or there's something in there that they would have to look at the water before they approved it, because, we have to check the waivers too.
Yep, I believe, at least from the planning board meetings that I've viewed, I know we've had a couple of subdivisions, or a subdivision that's come up, and they've recommended well drilling for the subdivision, so they're not on town water. So at least
This was a while ago, though.
yeah. So I think that the other boards are well aware of our water situation, and I don't know what committees I'll be on either, but I really do hope that at least some notification processes are placed into that. And I mean, I'm on it, so I don't mind making amendments and recommending those to rules and procedure. I know we kind of isolate those groups themselves, but any counselors are more than welcome to email those committee members for questions or recommendations themselves, because ultimately we send it back to the group of us, try to discuss it. But having it as ready to go as it can be prior to that is, I think, the best thing. So we did have definitely a productive conversation about that situation and accountability. And, just having notification is a benefit, because that's how we hold the town manager accountable, so we know about those things, because that's the process for the way our charter works. So I think that's kind of critical. I'd be interested in a little bit more of how we are acting efficiently as a water commission. I know this is kind of a newer thing, trying to just kind of handle that situation and get a water commission up and running on the resident side. And there is an ordinance in waiting on that as well, on that language. So I would like to see that up and running with citizens that are able to tackle that issue and hold everybody accountable and inform the council. But I agree with you.
Anything else, councilors? I forgot one last thing on water. So there was a discussion around water supply, water infrastructure, and grants and MBTA status. As most people should know, we are an MBTA recognized community, and there was some discussion as to grant eligibility and whatnot. So I just wanted to read a section of the regulations. So the section is 760 CMR 72.10, and I'm going to just read from here so that some folks could understand what the regulations actually say, and if we have any questions for our town attorney, he's probably just going to read it back to us. But if there are any questions, we could go over those. So again, we are recognized as an MBTA community at the moment, and so this is what the regulation reads. After receiving a determination of compliance, an MBTA community must notify EOHLC in writing of any zoning amendment or proposed zoning amendment that affects the compliant multifamily zoning district, or any other bylaw, ordinance, rule, or regulation that limits the development of multifamily housing in the multifamily district. Next, EOHLC may rescind a determination of district compliance or require changes to a multifamily zoning district to remain in compliance if it is determined that B, the MBTA community failed to notify EOHLC of a zoning amendment which affects the multifamily zoning district, and then also later on in D, a board authority or official that does not issue permits or otherwise acts or fails to act to allow construction of a multifamily housing project that is allowed as of right in the multifamily zoning district, or any mixed-use zoning development take into account in determining the required multifamily unit capacity in the multifamily zoning district. And then finally it says the MBTA committee takes no other action that causes the multifamily zoning district to no longer comply with Mass General Law 3A. So as I determine and rather interpret this, that if you do put a blanket building moratorium in place, this does clearly state that you are potentially eligible to have that status rescinded and thus ineligible for grants. Is that how you also interpret it?
Yes.
Okay. Do we have any questions from counselors on that?
I was under the impression that one can use the DEP ruling that we are in a water crisis as an exception to the MBTA rule.
Are there any regulations that state that?
It's not what the regulations say. The regulations essentially say exactly as was read. There is no exceptions. There's no written exceptions. It essentially is saying that if you limit the ability to build these multifamily dwellings in multifamily zoning districts, then they reserve the right to withdraw your compliance with the MBTA.
They reserve the right. However, it is the state DEP that should be equal to the state MBTA and thus tell them that we have a water crisis.
There's nothing in the regulation that speaks to that.
There's nothing in the regulation, but that is common sense.
I just follow what the law says.
Any other questions or comments, counselors?
I'll just make a comment on you having read that. That's the same language that I've read, and to speak to the ordinance that was put forward and what the goal of that is, that goal is it's intended to grow with the town, not cap something immediately. So you can kind of view it a few different ways, but it puts a limit on where we're at for water and water permitting in the long term, and provides a reserve in case there's an emergency and our largest well goes offline. So that's what the goal of that is. And I have seen some comments about that funding being pulled at some point or not being pulled, or why would the state penalize us under a water emergency? And I said this when we voted on this. I don't like it at all. I think the MBTA is a complete overreach. But they pulled money from, I believe it was Winthrop, over funding for flood walls, I believe, to keep residents' homes from being flooded. That's how forceful they've been with this, with funding. So I don't think the state, in my interpretation, really cares. If they're willing to let residents' homes flood over this and deny grant funding, I don't think we're like an exception to the rule. So I think our current situation, and after that meeting we had last week, I spoke to our representative about his description of what we could do, and I will not speak for him, but I will say that a lot of that discussion that we had paralleled a lot of the discussions we've had at the council when it comes to exceptions, lawsuits for closing permits off for permitted building now, and issues that opens up. So from my position, I don't want to open the town up to more, to any legal issues that we are currently avoiding with the way that we're currently moving forward right now. And all of us looked at the budget, and we don't have any money. And there's 9 towns right now being sued from the state over MBTA zoning. That's costing them money. And if we enter into more restrictions, we're going to open up to potential other lawsuits. And, you can sue anybody for anything. So regardless on whether or not it moves forward, it's going to cost us more money. So I think with the way we're proceeding right now is working right now. We don't have any MBTA approved building because we're not going to approve any water hookups with our current situation. And the ordinance that we've tried to work through and are continuing to work through, the goal of that extends past this, the units being in place on Plymouth Street. And that's part of the goal there, is to ensure that we're safely moving forward. So I look forward to continuing the work on that.
Thank you. Anything further?
I have a question. So we can build so we stay compliant with MBTA, but can we say that you can't tie into our water, you have to do a well, and we'd still be compliant?
As I understand it, yes, we do have the ability to determine our own capacity based upon what our available capacity is, and we'll still remain compliant. I remember from the presentation last year that that is the case, but they did say that if we did have zoning such as a blanket building moratorium, that directly conflicts with this language, and then we would no longer be compliant. But we do have the ability to determine our ability to provide water to projects. Did I get that wrong?
It's just very technical, so there's a lot of different things at play, but what this part of the regulation actually says is that a board, an authority, or official in an MBTA community does not issue permits or otherwise acts or fails to act to allow construction of a multifamily housing project that is allowed as of right in the multifamily zoning district. So there's one way to interpret that. That would be that if you deny the permit because there's not potable water, query if that's an issue for the town, right? So I think you want to be very careful about this conversation, frankly. I understand why you're having it, but I wouldn't make determinations of absolutes, because in a lot of these, they're subject to the interpretation of EOHLC, and I think what you've done is you've created a setup that is trying to stay compliant with the MBTA community regulations, but is also trying to take a pragmatic approach about the fact that there is limited water supply. So I would just be very cautious speaking too much on hypothetical fact patterns here, because the more you do that, the more you put yourself into a corner that you don't want to be in. So in my opinion, I think it's important to understand the regulation. I think it's important that the public understands what the regulation actually says, the terms of the regulation. But as with anything in the law, the regulation is only applicable as applied to the specific facts before you. And facts can change greatly depending on your scenario. So I would just be very careful. Talking in the hypothetical is always a difficult thing. I understand why you want to, but you could come up with a trillion different hypotheticals, and everyone may have a different answer. Mm-hmm. So I think the key is to just understand what the regulations actually say, and I think that's the intent, at least as of right now.
All right, thank you. I'll wait till we have water and discuss that.
Thanks. Anything else, counselors, before we move on? All right, thank you very much. We'll now move on to, do we have any committee reports?
I know we're going to go through a few budget and finance items, but I just wanted to update folks that we met this evening for an hour. There were close to 10 items on our agenda, so we made it about halfway through, and we decided to continue the meeting to work through the annual town budget, enterprise funds, and so forth. So while we did pass along a few items, which we'll discuss, I think, in the new business or legislation for action, there are still items that are pending on our agenda, and we will look to schedule another meeting with whoever is here.
Sounds good. Anything, any other committee reports? All right, thank you very much. We'll now move into legislation for action. First up, we have, and we cannot act on this tonight, but we do have Order FY 26-057, acceptance of a grant. This is a Department of Energy Resources Green Communities Division grant. The Budget and Finance Committee did meet earlier today, as Councilor Murphy said, and we did vote 3-0 to approve, but FinCom did continue that item, so I would entertain a motion to continue this to our next regularly scheduled council meeting.
So move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Do we have any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Next up, we have Order OFY 26-058. This is the Bridgewater Police Relief Association, MCOP Local 397 Collective Bargaining Contract Ratification. The Finance Committee did meet earlier this evening. They voted 6-0 to approve, and I'll ask Councilor Murphy for a Budget and Finance update.
Yeah, we had a great discussion. Police chief came and also gave us some good insight into how the negotiation went from both sides. And so it was a great conversation during budget and finance. Ultimately, we voted 3-0 to recommend.
Great, thank you. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and a second. Is there any discussion on this?
Again, just like to highlight both sides coming together and being able to work out a deal, and hopefully favorable for both sides. Maybe both sides aren't completely happy, but I do think this is great. A good sign or a good show from both sides to be able to come together and get this done.
Yeah, I agree. And sorry, Councilor Ellenberg.
I just wanted to say thank you to the police union for recognizing our budget situation and being realistic and doing the right thing. Thank you to them.
Yeah, I'm just going to echo that. I just want to thank the local 397 for coming to the bargaining and being able to work out an agreement, knowing the current financial stress and strain that we're under as a town. So thank you, guys.
Thank you. Anything further from our councilors? I'll also agree. Thank you to Local 397 for coming to the table with a very reasonable contract. We're looking forward to hopefully approving this here in just a moment. I was looking at FY26 versus FY27 actual budget spend on our police department as a total, and it's only a 1.5% increase over last year. So that's with employment costs, salaries, and everything there. So that includes any sort of salary increases and operational increases. So it's only 1.5% increase year over year, which is good. So we appreciate that from our police department. With that being said, we'll go ahead and call for a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next up, we have Order FY 26-059. This is the appropriation transfer, which couples the previous contract, which we just voted on. I'll ask Councilor Murphy for an update, and FinCom did vote 6-0 to approve this earlier this evening.
Yeah, nothing additional to add. Again, we discussed in budget and finance. This is for FY, we said 26 and going into, for FY 26 retro and going forward, correct, Lori? Is that correctly?
Yeah, Dr. Murphy, it's 26 and 25, the prior year as well.
Okay, thank you.
Great. So do I have a motion for approval and
So moved.
second for discussion?
Second.
Motion and a second. Any questions or comments from our councilors? Just a comment point of clarification. The numbers and the adjustments that are in here, they're already reflected in our budget. It doesn't put our budget out of balance or anything like that. It was already taken into account. So the budget does remain balanced with these appropriations and the ratifying of this contract. So just a point of information for everybody here. So with that being said, we'll go for a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Next, we have Order FY 26-060, wage adjustment budget transfers. The FinCom met earlier this evening, and they voted, it says 5-0 to recommend, and I'll ask Councilor Murphy for update here.
Yeah, the budget and finance voted 3-0 to recommend, again, similar to what we did with the police transfer as well, too, appropriation.
And these contracts we voted and approved on, was it earlier this fiscal year last year, right? Is that, we'd already voted on this, yes?
Yeah, last June we had said.
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay.
We've already voted them.
All right. So do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion made.
Second.
And a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, next up, we have Resolution FY 26-009, a resolution in recognition of Pride Month. This measure was not referred to committee. 14 days has elapsed per Section 17 of the Council Rules and Procedures. Therefore, this measure may be finally considered this evening. I'll ask Councilor Murphy who needs to speak to anything on this before we entertain a motion.
Nothing additional, thank you.
Okay. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion made to approve.
Second.
Second. Is there any discussion on this one?
Yes, I believe that the time in our country has come for us not to be splintering off into many different directions, with each splinter with its own flag. For example, suppose people showed up with a MAGA flag. People wouldn't be into that. Other people are not into the other flags which are displayed. Therefore, I move that we use the unity of the American flag as the flag from which all of our rights are derived from our Declaration, our Constitution, our Bill of Rights, and our amendments to our Constitution.
Councilor Kennedy, you had your hand up. Did you have anything?
Yeah, this is kind of an ongoing topic of discussion that creates some division in town, so I tried to take a few minutes and actually put something together that at least reflects my opinion on this. While I respect the intentions behind these resolutions, our nonpartisan council, I think, should remain neutral on political and cultural symbolism. Today, we have a pride flag. Tomorrow, it could be another partisan symbol, and that may upset other groups in our community. I want to remind everyone that the pendulum does swing. My belief is that the role of a local government, especially from nonpartisan seats, is to remain neutral. Public issues should play out in public spaces. Partisan politics should remain in partisan races. The council should not be a blowhorn for ideological groups, and I would hold this position regardless of which group is involved. Because of this broader concern, I will not vote for these resolutions moving forward. This is not about opposing any group. I fully support the First Amendment, whether on private property or through the town's permitting process, even for causes I personally disagree with, and I think that's a crucial principle for anyone to have. But where we are doing that, what we're doing here is different. We are taking issues from a specific group and elevating them through the council. I do not want to use this seat as a soapbox. We can recognize broad civic contributions, such as those who have fulfilled duties to the nation without stepping into ongoing political debates. When we endorse hot topics, nationwide causes, we choose a side. And since we have opened the door over the last few years on issues like this, future councils could also open that same doors for any cause that align with their views at that time. That is why I believe we should avoid using our seats for partisan advocacy and advocate groups. Our role here is to serve the residents and not align the council with the political agendas.
Thank you. Any other comments, councilors?
Thank you, Mr. President. I have a couple questions from residents because of the Council Kennedy brought up that the library is not under our register, so it should be up to the town manager. Did you talk to the town manager about that?
I haven't spoken directly to the town manager about that. I have not spoken to him about that particular issue. I think that's going to need to work out between the town manager and potentially the town attorney on who has the purview over that specific flagpole. But according to our ordinance, the way the admin code is written is it specifically says this building, the Academy building, in that, which I tried to bring up to Councilor Murphy last week because I didn't want to kind of argue over semantics of a resolution, just out of respect. I wanted to make sure that we actually had a full discussion, if needed, over the intent of what we're doing here.
Well, I bring it up because I had residents ask me about that, so maybe Mr. Rollins can.
Yeah, sure. So I think there's actually a couple of issues at play. So I don't think that the resolution as it's stated fits exactly within the ordinance, because the ordinance talks about the flying of a flag at the Academy building. The reality of it is that any resolution brought forward is a statement by the council to say that the town supports something and is directing the town manager in some sense about showing that support. So I don't think it makes this resolution wrong in terms of procedurally. I think the town manager has purview to fly the flag at the library if the town manager determines that's the best place to fly the flag based on the resolution that you all put forth. So really the most important part of any resolution is the statement that's made, not necessarily where on public property it's flown, unless there's a limitation. And so the limitation only relates to those flags flown at the Academy building. So that's not actually what this resolution mirrors. It has some of the same criteria, but the ordinance about flying at the Academy building, in the very first sentence, talks about may allow the raising of a flag on the flagpole located at the Academy building. So this ordinance doesn't exactly fit that, right? So I don't think the resolution is out of order to bring. I think that the determination about where it's flown could be now, based on it being brought this way and not strictly under the ordinance, would fall within the purview of the town manager, who obviously is in charge of the assets of the town, right, the properties of the town.
I have one more question for you that was brought up. The residents that text me, they have no problem the flag being on the flagpole, but they're wondering why are the sticker of the flags can be on the door, where someone, I guess, put a United States flag up on the sticker door, because there's Pride flag and it's not Juneteenth. It's, what is that?
It's LGBTQ and Black Lives Matter.
Right, so someone put the American sticker above it and it was ripped down. So now they're saying, are these considered, because they're flag stickers, is that conflated? And someone said that no stickers are allowed on public buildings. I couldn't find it in the charter.
So I would defer to the town manager on that. That's
Okay.
beyond a legal question. So the town manager, under the charter, controls the facilities of the town. So that would be a question for the town manager.
Okay, thank you. That was now I have my own question. Mr. Murphy, I was, on the last whereas, I kind of, where it says unwavering support for all, I'd gone over that before, and only because in Connecticut, in the 1980s, when I was living there, the Ku Klux Klan came in, and they said, well, this is a fairground. So I'd kind of rather you just say unwavering support for the LBG, that, because it is the flag. Just to keep out, because you never know. You know what I mean? I saw it once, and I don't want to see it again.
Are you making a motion to amend?
Sorry. I make a motion to amend on the fourth, the last whereas, where it says acceptance and unwavering support for, I'm not going to get the whole thing right.
An unwavering support, period.
No, for the,
LGBTQ plus.
yeah.
Community.
Community was suggested. Do you want to?
Okay, yeah, I see that right before it. Okay, that's fine.
So on that second to last whereas, or that second to last paragraph where it says whereas, the very end it says unwavering support for all. The unwavering support for the LGBTQ plus community. Is that correct?
Yeah, so I was daydreaming. I'm sorry.
Make sure I have your amendment correct.
I'm sorry.
So on the last whereas, the second to last paragraph on it,
Yeah.
that sentence ends with an unwavering support for all. I believe you suggested changing it to unwavering support for the LGBTQ plus community.
That's correct, thank you.
Okay, we have a motion made for an amendment. Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So with that small change, do we have any other discussion on the resolution?
One last discussion that's not mentioned on here, but I do know that BCCR was also working with the library trustees to incorporate their thoughts and opinion on this as well too, considering it's taking place at the library. And so I know those conversations have been had and those folks have been engaged and have weighed in as well too. So I understand the purview of the town manager, but I just wanted to point that out, those folks have been working with them as well too.
Could I ask Mr. Murphy one more question? So who decides that the flags can go up there? Is it the directors or the director?
I mean, my understanding is that it's the town manager that decides, but they did engage the library trustees in that process as well too.
Okay, so the town manager, the last town manager, our town manager said, okay.
The last town manager, last year, you mean? Are you referring to last year's event?
Yeah, or is it this, I mean, who has agreed, who said, yeah, put it up in the library? I don't remember.
Well, I don't know who exactly had said it, but ultimately the decision lies with the town manager, so.
Okay, because I forgot one more of the things they were asking, because it's a public building.
Yeah.
You know how you've brought up why certain things, I was just wondering, since it's a public building, should it stay neutral, or is the town manager says, okay, that's fine?
Well, I think that's why you vote a resolution.
We vote
Because-
policy.
Because then what occurs is the body politic, being the town council, can make statements under the First Amendment.
Okay.
And so when you vote a resolution like this, it's the body making a First Amendment statement. So that's important to understand that.
Yeah.
It isn't one individual making a statement, it's the government making the statement, which is what distinguishes it between one person strictly deciding to put a flag up versus a body that represents citizens.
I guess I was just trying to, because I've had so much from both sides.
Understood.
And I'm kind of like, I can't vote for both, so
And I can only answer legal questions.
I
so.
appreciate you do that. You helped me.
Councilor Ellenberg, you had your hand up?
So I just wanted to say that I believe the council sets policy. That First Amendment expression is us setting policy.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's part of policy.
And as a point of order, I believe policy set has to be followed by the town manager. I don't believe he's independent. We are the legislative body.
Oh, yeah, I agree. I think the reason that the flag ordinance came to be was really for that very reason. So contextually speaking, to have a process by which the government goes through and makes a proclamation.
And makes a policy.
And makes a policy and votes on it, then it's okay for the government to exercise its First Amendment rights. It becomes problematic when there's a single individual doing that, because then it's difficult to discern if that's government speech versus individual speech on a government building.
Are you speaking about, let's say, if the library director or somebody else makes the decision, that's the individual, or the town manager is an individual? I mean, I just think we ought to stick with the
Conceivably-
legislative body.
Conceivably, I think it's more nuanced than that, because it kind of depends on the form of government you're operating, and it depends on who has the authorities over the facilities in the government and who can speak for the government. So First Amendment issues are incredibly nuanced, and I think the way you've done this here is totally acceptable, because I think I agree with you. You absolutely can make a statement and absolutely can assert a statement on behalf of the town government.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll probably go to a roll call. Last year I voted no on this for the reasons that Councilor Kennedy stated more eloquently than I can right now. I think that we should remain neutral. I don't think that's our place to make that First Amendment statement. That's just me. So to our town council clerk, may we please do a roll call vote, please?
Mr. Kennedy?
No.
Ms. Ellenberg?
No.
Ms. McGrath?
Yes.
Mr. Loretti?
No.
Dr. Perry?
Yes.
Dr. Murphy?
Yes.
Ms. Hunt?
Yes.
And Mr. Lindy?
Yes.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 to
passes.
3.
All right, motion carries. We'll now move on to Resolution FY 26-010, a resolution honoring Juneteenth. This measure was not referred to committee. 14 days has elapsed per Section 17 of the Council Rules and Procedures. Therefore, this measure may be finally considered this evening. So with that being said, do I have a motion on the table for this one?
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and a second. Any discussion here?
Similar to the last one, so I may suggest an amendment here, but I think including a lot of it is activist partisan groups pushing this forward, as opposed to it coming organically from the council, is something that I think we recognize. So I'm going to put forward an amendment that would kind of determine whether or not I support it. It is a federal holiday recognized, and I have no problem with anyone celebrating this. So I would make an amendment to remove the first whereas, the third whereas, and the word and in the fourth or fifth, and then the final line as well, because I just don't agree with the flag raising component, but I think people should be able to go and celebrate it. I'll make the amendment first before I comment on it. So the first whereas, the third whereas, and the final be it further resolved.
Sean, can you just repeat that one more time?
To remove the first whereas, the third whereas paragraphs, the final be it resolved paragraph,
Be it further resolved, right?
be it further resolved. And then the word and, just to keep it in sync from be it resolved paragraph.
Yep. I'll second that. Any discussion on the amendments?
Just from my opinion, I think a lot of the groups kind of bring a partisan component. I think if the council is going to support what is a federal holiday, and there's a listed time and date on this as well for people to go and celebrate that as they see fit. I don't have an issue supporting the federal holiday from the council seat. What I have an issue with is the partisan activist component that's attached to this. I don't think it's necessary from the council's position in a resolution. And I think the other plain verbiage here is perfectly acceptable in my opinion.
I would agree. Councillor Ellenberg, do you have something?
Yes, I just wanted to say that not only is this a federal holiday, but this is a genuine historical event in our history. And a former speaker was talking about being true to our history. So this one has to be supported because it is a genuine piece of American history and it is a federal holiday.
Any further discussion on the amendments?
Just a comment on that, I guess. The way that it's intended to write it, I think, is just speaking to the history of the event itself and how it's been organized. And so I think it, gives specific dates and has just reflected that this group has sort of hosted that event since. I'm not sure if I entirely agree with Councilor Kennedy and that the town should be taking it over, or maybe the intention's different. I don't want to interpret it wrong, but does that make sense, I guess?
I see what you're saying. It's not that I'm not implying the town takes it over. What I'm looking to do is have it be a neutral resolution from the council that does not include other groups that are more partisan than nonpartisan, as opposed to similar to what I mentioned with the pride flag resolution. So I think if the goal here is solely to have that date celebrated and recognized as a holiday, which I don't have a problem with, then it just comes through as neutral language that the town supports it. And for anyone reading it, it still has the date at Bridgewater State University when to celebrate.
I guess I would just say one more comment back while we're through you, because we're not debating this, just to be clear. The only thing I'll say about this is I think it's a reflection of the event itself that celebrates the holiday, and so I think that's the intention behind the way that it was written, is to really celebrate the event itself. And I think what you're suggesting is more the holiday specific, right? That the town recognize the holiday. Are you saying that we don't recognize the event itself?
I think the event itself isn't removed from the amendment, so I think that's still in there. And the information on the holiday is there as well. So I don't know if that answers your question.
Move the question.
Just to expound upon that and what Dr. Murphy was saying is, I think it's a resolution honoring Juneteenth within the community of Bridgewater, and reflects the groups within Bridgewater have worked toward, the celebration of Juneteenth within the community. So by stripping out all those other names, I think it just takes away the personality and the connection to the town, making it just generally neutral that could apply to anything. So I'm for keeping the names of the groups that are in the resolution, because I do believe it connects us to the town of Bridgewater.
Just going to echo the comments that Councilor Perry just made. I think it kind of guts the whole event and the meaning of the event and the fact that all the different parties have put forward in the last 5 years, I believe. So,
I have one thing, Mr. President. Mr. Kenny, I don't know if you've gone to the celebration at BSU. It's a lot of work. It's just not raising the flag. I mean, it's a fair out. So I think they're putting all these committees, because they work so hard, at the event that they put at BSU. It's an all-day. It's huge. So I think that's why they put it there, because it takes all these committees in our town and our BSU to put that event on. And it's only because I've been there that I really know that it's quite a thing.
And I'm not questioning or commenting on the efforts or what I'm looking to do, which based on what I've already kind of outlined, is from this specific body, using that specific voice, which represents everyone in town collectively, is using that in a neutral manner. That's what I'm looking to do with that.
Yeah, and to speak for myself, that's exactly how I feel. I don't want to, lift certain voices and certain groups here. I am all for honoring the national holiday. As is stated, I would be in favor of these amendments because it accomplishes what I believe how our council should kind of position itself. Does anybody have any further comments before we go ahead and go to a vote? Sounds like there's going to be a little back and forth here, so let's do a roll call vote on the amendment, please.
Could you restate the amendment, just?
I'll have
clearly?
Councilor Kennedy go over that.
Removing the first paragraph, whereas, removing the third paragraph, whereas, removing the last word "and" in the "be it resolved" paragraph, and removing the final paragraph. Do it, be it resolved, be it further resolved paragraph.
Anything further?
Actually, could I ask council a question on that? And maybe I'm asking really, I'm thinking too deeply about this, but as the person that wrote the resolution, when it becomes amended, or maybe amended to this length, and it still has my name on the top of it, and it may be something I don't agree with, how does that work out?
It doesn't change, because you're still the sponsor, so.
But essentially, I'm sponsoring legislation that I don't agree with at that point.
Well, it's been amended. It's not like it starts as you brought it, right? So your initial name on there is just because you're bringing what initially comes before the council. That's what any sponsor does. It doesn't mean that what comes out of the council is necessarily what you brought forth. And so it doesn't change the nature of the fact that you sponsored something just because it gets amended. It's pretty much, that's it.
Any further discussion?
There's a line that says amendment.
So I guess I would say that's the risk you take when you sponsor legislation, right? In a nutshell.
Can we call the vote on the amendment?
Yeah, we are going to do the roll call now.
Ready?
We are ready.
Mr. Lindy?
No.
Ms. Hunt?
No.
Dr. Murphy?
No.
Dr. Perry?
No.
Mr. Loretti?
Yes.
Ms. McGrath?
No.
Ms. Ellenberg?
Yes.
And Mr. Kennedy?
Yes.
3 in favor, 5 opposed, motion fails.
All right, so we now have it on the table as it is originally proposed. Is there any further discussion as it is presented? No? Okay, let's go to a roll call vote, please.
Mr. Kennedy?
No.
Ms. Ellenberg?
No.
Ms. McGrath?
Yes.
Mr. Loretti?
No.
Dr. Perry?
Yes.
Dr. Murphy?
Yes.
Ms. Hunt?
Yes.
And Mr. Lindy?
Yes.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 in favor, 3 opposed.
All right, motion passes. We'll now move on to our last piece for action here. FY 26-011, a resolution of the Bridgewater Town Council supporting House Bill H91 and Senate Bill S2556, an act to modernize funding for community media programming. This measure was not referred to committee. 14 days has passed per section 17 of the council rules and procedures. Therefore, this measure may be finally considered this evening. So we introduced this at our last meeting. I am very much in support of this, and I would entertain a motion to approve. And any discussion?
So moved.
Motion made.
Second.
We have a second. Any discussion on this one? Councilor Hunt, as the sponsor, do you have any comments as we kind of get to a vote on this?
No, I put it in because the senator and the representative asked for it to go forward. I'd like to see it go forward.
All right.
Just so you know, your name's stuck on it forever now.
Forever and ever.
Pending amendments.
Hey, as an aside, though, I would say, it does show up, it says amendments adopted on certain dates. It doesn't say by who, and it doesn't say how it's changed, but if it makes you feel better, it does. It does state
We
it.
could amend your name off and put someone else's.
Counselor?
Yeah.
I just know that BTV is an incredible community asset, and any funding we can get to continue their operations and what they do, they go above and beyond every single day.
Yes, I agree. And for the public that doesn't have this in front of them, this would be, Councilor Hunt drafted a letter in support of these bills, which would allow for different ways of funding our community access television, BTV. So we are all in support of that. Any further discussion from councilors?
I also just want to echo the thank you to BTV. Thank you, Councilor Hunt. Councilor Hunt for putting this forward. BTV does a great job, whether it's the council meetings, things around town, making sure the public has access to what the town government is doing and access in a lot of areas in town. So I appreciate the work they do, and I think this is a good thing for us to put forward.
Agreed. Anything further?
I guess the one thing I would say is it's financially important to BTV that this happen.
Yes.
Yeah, immensely. Okay, anything else? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Great. So we do not have any old business or new business. We'll now move on to citizen comments. I lost my notes. Anyone may come up this time and speak for up to 3 minutes.
Ray Adjemian. I just want to comment on the two resolutions. If you have an Irish background, you were heavily discriminated in the 19th century. If you have an Italian background, you're heavily discriminated at the end of the 19th century. A number of ethnic groups today, which are fine in our society, were heavily discriminated. If you're a Native American, you were not only heavily discriminated, you were murdered. If you're black, you were enslaved for over 2 centuries before the 13th Amendment was passed, and still you have discrimination. The two resolutions that were in front of you were symbolic. They don't change anything. They're simply symbolic on the way to improving minorities in this country. And that's all they are. And whether you want to be or not, you are political in your decisions. And that's okay. I'm just saying, look at the facts. And I'm saying, historically, we have had heavy discrimination against minorities in this country. And just moving a little bit by resolution doesn't change much, but it just says Bridgewater is more open and we're willing to accept minorities. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Carlton Hunt, I concur with what Ray just said. I have grandkids that trace to 8 African countries and Massasoit, Native American here. So that's one point. I absolutely agree with this resolution. Moving on. I want to speak to water. The idea of an ad hoc committee on water it's not needed. This council has a standing committee that is charged with speaking about economic and community development. Water is directly involved with economic and community development. We need to start using the standing committees of this council in the next elected body. A little bit more. I've also been doing some research. Thankfully, I found it on that new water page. Did you know there's a map of all of our distribution system there? It goes from 16-inch lines all the way down to 2-inch lines. It's color-coded. Unfortunately, it's back in 2017. It needs to be updated. But it's fascinating if you understand distribution systems or think to understand distribution systems, where the big hookups can be down the road. And I'll also point out, we talk about Vernon Street wells. We know that there are 2 well sites on Vernon Street across from the golf course. Those wells have been tapped in. We have some estimates of what the production is. Did you know that there's another DEP-approved wellhead protection designation on Vernon Street? No action. There is. It's parcel 131-7, and the card in the the town's card, it says BL1, Vernon Street Water Department land. So that's an area that has a designated DEP well site. I don't know that it's been explored, but I see on your agenda you're going to be talking about water possibly next. Please consider the fact that we already have 3 well locations that we can develop. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, John. Donna, 261 South Street. Councilor Kennedy, Councilor Ellenberg, I want to thank you for your comments on the LGBTQ issue. I think you're correct on the statements you made, and thank you for your votes on the issue. I also want to touch upon the sticker on the library. There is a LGBTQ sticker prominently displayed on the front window of the library on the road, main road, and if a resolution needs to be passed to fly an LGBTQ flag in town, surely having a sticker on a town building is a violation of the town charter, so I hope that will be explored. Thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to come up and speak? Okay, seeing none, we'll now go into our council comments. So I'll start with Councilor Lindy, please.
Hope we have a good turnout on Saturday, on Election Day. 11% is not a good percentage. We should have more. I know people have had the opportunity and still have the opportunity to vote absentee. We did a lot of work this year. We have a lot more to do next year. Got to hit the ground running, got to look at the budget very intensely. We got to send out as much information to the public on water, and I would like to see this whole council act as a water commission. I think the issue is that important. A lot of citizen input, a lot of comments. We want to put out good factual information out there from the town so people actually understand what it is. I want to be able to look at it. If there's legalities involved, that's okay, but I think quarterly is not enough. I think monthly would be more appropriate so we could get that information. I want to thank my fellow councilors, and I look forward to being in a seat here next month.
Thank you. Councilor Hunt?
Yes, thank you. I want to thank the audience here, because I remember times when I would be out there and council would be here, and there'd be like 3 or 4 or 5 people out there. I think it's very, very wonderful that people have started showing up and people have started speaking, and make sure that we know where they're standing. And I wish great success to everybody who's running, and I thank everyone who's running for office, because it's not an easy thing to do. It takes time, it takes money, it takes effort, and it takes putting yourself out there where people can throw stuff at you. And so I really, I thank you all for doing that. And I saw something in the paper. You know, I see things in the paper every once in a while. But it was Bridgewater, and it's the Boundless Bean. And it was the front page of the paper probably a week or 2 ago, because I'm behind times. But and then followed up with a whole article on the inside, and I love it when I see something that's so nice here in Bridgewater making the front page of a paper. So head on down to Boundless, tell them your congratulations for them, and buy whichever thing you think is the very best. And that's it.
Thank you. Councilor Murphy?
Yeah, just a couple quick things. A couple quick things. I just wanted to say thank you to my fellow councilors tonight. I thought it was a great debate over the resolution, and though things were said that I may disagree on, I feel like that's how government works, and that's a sign of good government. And so we don't often see that, and I thought our conversation tonight was very civil. Folks stated their opinions, their thoughts, and then we were able to take a vote on it. And so I just wanted councilors to know I appreciated that, and I appreciate their input with that piece. I also like to say that I am up for re-election this Saturday. And so if this is my last meeting, I just wanted folks to know I enjoyed working with everybody, with the exception of the town attorney. Great.
Likewise.
Yeah. Good thing you don't get a vote. I feel like, in all seriousness, I feel like we were able to accomplish a lot of good things over the last 3 years. And although my wife has tried to talk me out of it, I think there's a lot of good things and a lot of hard work that needs to be done in the future for this town. And so I made the decision to stay on and to run for re-election again. I think there are a lot of great candidates on the ballot, and there are a few questions on the ballot that are important to this town as well too. So even if you're not in favor of the candidates, those questions will impact citizens as well too. And we haven't talked about that as frequently as maybe we should have, but I hope folks come out and express their opinions on that and the candidates running. And I look forward to, even if I'm not sitting in this seat come next week, that I will stay involved in the town, because I think there's a lot of good work to be done, as I had said. So again, thank you to everybody. Thank you to my fellow councilors, both present and past, for everything you've given me in this role and my ability to work with you. So thank you.
Thank you, sir. Councilor Perry?
Thank you. Again, as mentioned, it's election day this weekend, and I hope that we get as good a turnout as possible. Thank all the candidates that put their names in. I thank the current councilors that are up for re-election. I wish everyone the best of luck. I've enjoyed working with all of the current councilors that are up for re-election. I do want to thank all the people that came out, including the councilors and the town manager, for the cleanup day this past weekend. We did pick up quite a bit of trash. It wasn't the best of days weather-wise, but it did hold off rain-wise, so that was helpful. But again, days like that just show how strong and close a community we have, and I appreciate all those that came on out. And again, don't forget to come out to First Responders Day after you do go and vote, and check out the events down there. I know our president will speak more to that in his comments, but a kudos to everyone at Fire Effect and the work that they've done down there, putting that area together, and they're using that area for different events and different situations. There'll be a bunch happening down there this spring and summer, so I look forward to the event that they'll bring forward. And other than that, that's all I got tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Ellenberg?
Yes, I want to say thank you to Justin and Lori Guarini for doing such a wonderful job on the budget. We have a very, very tough budget, but you've tried to be even-handed, and we'll see what changes the council makes, but you've done a good job so far under very tough circumstances. I also wanted to say thank you to all the citizens and the BSU students who came out for the town cleanup that day. In fact, Councilor Perry was there with his grasping tool to pick up the garbage and helped me on a few items. Lastly, good luck and success to everyone who is running, and let's hope for a good turnout. That's all.
Thank you. Councilor Kennedy?
I want to thank my fellow councilors for good discussions this evening and for the last year or so. For those that may or may not be here, good luck to all the candidates. I do hope to see a lot of residents out at the polls. I'm going to stop by, and I hope a lot of people do visit the landing and go down there for First Responder Day, bring your kids down. It is a good time. It's a good community event, and Bridgewater needs more good community events, I think, to get everybody together. So. And thank you for the public for attending this. I know we had a couple of regular kind of hot button issues tonight, and some other comments were made. So for me, I'll just kind of clarify this. I really truly believe in government neutrality. That is like a core component for the way that I view what we do here and what I do and put forward and how I discuss issues. I think everybody has their own personal views on things. But that's where I land on that. So if there was issues brought forward from any side, I don't think a lot of people know my actual personal politics. There's a lot of assumptions. But if anything was brought forward from any of those sides, I would have the same neutrality towards everything. And that is my honest personal view. So I hope to see everybody on Saturday, and good luck to everybody, and thank you all.
Thank you. Vice President McGrath.
Thank you, Mr. President. I did a podcast with Coach Rigg, who is the executive director of the flag football in Bridgewater, and he brought 5 girls who played flag football. And these girls so much had enjoyed the podcast that you might have another podcast in Bridgewater with them. And I hope so, because they were really good. But I encourage parents to go look at flag football if your student doesn't want to play some other sport. It's amazing. He's an amazing coach. And I want to thank Shane O'Brien, because I went to the open space presentation. Everyone should check that out. He really did a really good job. And it's been enjoyable to be VP. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you very much. I said this earlier, but it's really been a pleasure. I really appreciate serving the public, and I thank my counselors for instilling your trust in me over the last year. I know that we faced a lot of challenges, and we've made some progress, and there is obviously a lot more work to do. And I look forward to hopefully doing that work here with you all. Like Councilor Murphy has said, I'm also up for re-election this weekend. And if this is my last council meeting with you all, I just want to tell you, from the bottom of my heart, I really do appreciate this work that we do. It is difficult work, but it is very, very meaningful work. It's something that I'm very, very passionate about, and I love doing it with all of you guys here. We do need to continue to do that work, and I think that a big component is just restoring trust in our community as it comes to not only our water issues, but our budget issues and the priorities that we have as a town. And I think that we've made some strides there. I think that we need to continue to listen to our constituents, our community, and provide the information that they are looking for so they could trust us, and so that we could all work collaboratively together, because we all want the same outcomes. We all want a better community to live in and to work in and to thrive in. So that's all that I have for this evening. Like I said, it's been a pleasure. I hope to see all of you this weekend at the polls, and again, First Responder Day as well. So please get out on Saturday. Hopefully you have some nice weather. I haven't checked it yet. And I hope to see, again, all of you guys on Saturday. With that being said, we do have a quick executive session, so I'm just going to read this into the record, and we'll have to do a roll call vote. I'll entertain a motion to move into executive session under pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A6, to consider the purchase of real property for municipal water supply purposes, the chair having determined that an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the negotiating position of the town council, and to adjourn from executive session. So,
President Loretti, is there any chance that we could just cancel this and put it off for another time, that meeting? I think there are things that are happening that it would be better if we could wait a little bit longer before we have that meeting.
So do we just go to a roll call vote, and if those don't want to participate, we would just say no?
Yeah, you can vote against having the executive session, certainly.
Okay. So first, I need a motion. So do we have a motion to enter into executive session?
Moved.
Second, and
Oh,
actually,
no, we need a motion and then a second. Oh, you moved, I'm sorry, and then
All
a
right, yeah.
second. So did you have a comment for discussion?
can we just continue it to another day
Yeah, that's what I meant.
so that we don't have to do all the notice requirements and all of that? Or do we need the notice requirements for
You'll still
continuance?
you'll still have to notice it one way or another, so it doesn't matter if you continue it to a date certain or not. You're still going to have to notice it.
Yeah, me personally, just want to have a discussion, as it says here, under the executive session item with the council. If it's within the opinion of the council, they don't want to have that discussion, then I'll leave that up to you all, but I'm very much in favor of continuing with that discussion.
I think our town manager should actually be present for that discussion.
Okay, so like I said, if we don't want to have that conversation, then we could just vote no.
Did the town manager know about this?
Yeah,
And you discussed that with him?
Yep.
And he was okay us having it without him?
I told him that I was putting it on the agenda.
Okay. All right. Just wondering.
Yeah, he didn't explicitly voice his support or not. So, any further discussion? Okay, well, I, for one, am hoping that we could have this conversation, but we'll go to a roll call vote.
Yep. Mr. Lindy?
No.
Ms. Hunt?
No.
Dr. Murphy?
Yes.
Dr. Perry?
Yes.
Mr. Loretti?
Yes.
Ms. McGrath?
Yes.
Ms. Ellenberg?
Yes.
And Mr. Kennedy?
Yes.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6-2.
Okay, so we are into executive session. If the public wouldn't mind clearing out, thank you very much. Okay.
We got a 5-minute recess?
Need a recess.
Yeah.